Would you like to make a podcast? Spotify has a way to let you make one easily, distribute it everywhere, and even earn money, all in one place, for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters, and here's how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit right from your phone or computer, so you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify, and everywhere else podcasts are heard. And video podcasts are also available on Spotify. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free. You know, ever since I discovered Spotify for Podcasters, I've enjoyed sharing my favorite stories with children around the world. If you've ever thought of starting your own podcast, download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started. The Story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Once upon a time, there was a little girl named Goldilocks who had beautiful golden hair. She lived in a pretty house right at the edge of the forest. Each morning she liked to play outside before breakfast, gathering leaves and flowers and looking up at the animals who lived in the trees. One day, she strayed farther than usual. She skipped happily along the forest path, chasing butterflies, until she was far from home and very hungry. Just as she was thinking that it would take a long time to walk back for breakfast, a delicious smell wafted through the woods. She followed it all the way to a little cottage. "I wonder who lives here," Goldilocks said to herself. "Perhaps they would share breakfast with me." She knocked on the door, but there was no answer. As Goldilocks pushed gently on the door, it swung open. The house was cozy and inviting. Even though she knew she shouldn't, Goldilocks stepped inside. The delicious smell was coming from 3 bowls of steaming porridge on the table. There was a great big bowl, a medium-sized bowl, and a teeny-tiny bowl. Goldilocks was so hungry that even though she knew she shouldn't, she tasted the porridge in the biggest bowl. "Ew!" she cried. "This porridge is too hot." Next, she tasted the porridge in the medium-sized bowl. "Yuck," she said. "This porridge is too cold." So finally, she tried the porridge in the teeny-tiny bowl. "Yum," Goldilocks said. "This porridge is just right." And she ate it up. With her tummy nice and full, Goldilocks decided to take a rest before she set out for home. She looked around the room for somewhere to sit. There were 3 chairs, a great big chair, a medium-sized chair, and a teeny-tiny chair. She climbed into the great big chair. "This chair is much too high," she said. Next she tried the medium-sized chair, but she sank deep into the cushions. "No," she said, "this chair is much too squishy." So she sat on the teeny-tiny chair. "This chair is just right," she said, settling down. But Goldilocks was very full of porridge and too heavy for that teeny-tiny chair. It squeaked and creaked. It creaked and cracked. Then, crash! It broke into teeny-tiny pieces, and Goldilocks fell on the floor. "Well, that wasn't a very good chair," she said crossly, even though she knew she shouldn't. She went to take a look upstairs. In the bedroom, there were 3 beds. A great big bed, a medium-sized bed, and a teeny-tiny bed. She tried to lay down on the great big bed, but it was not comfy at all. "This bed is too hard and lumpy," she grumbled. Then Goldilocks lay down on the medium-sized bed, but that was no better. "This bed is too soft and squishy," she mumbled. And so at last, she snuggled down in the teeny-tiny bed. "This bed is just right," she said, and fell fast asleep. Now, whenever there is a house with porridge and chairs and beds, there is usually someone who lives there. And that was true of this house. 3 big brown bears lived there. A great big daddy bear, a medium-sized mommy bear, and a teeny-tiny baby bear. The 3 bears had made their porridge and had gone for a walk in the woods while it cooled down. At last they went home for their breakfast. "Why is the door open?" Daddy Bear said in a deep, gruff voice. "Why are there footprints on the floor?" Mama Bear said in her soft, low voice. Baby Bear said nothing. They went over to the table, and Daddy Bear looked in his bowl. "Somebody's been eating my porridge," he growled. Mama Bear looked in her bowl. "Someone's been eating my porridge," she exclaimed. Baby Bear looked in his bowl. "Someone's been eating my porridge, and they've eaten it all up," he cried in his teeny, tiny voice. Daddy Bear stomped over to his chair. "Someone's been sitting in my chair," he growled. "There's a long hair on it." "Someone's been sitting in my chair," Mama Bear exclaimed. "The cushions are all squashed." Baby Bear looked at his chair. "Somebody's been sitting in my chair, and they've broken it into pieces." "Let's get to the bottom of this," Daddy Bear growled, and they marched upstairs to the bedroom. Daddy Bear saw rumpled covers on his bed. "Someone's been sleeping in my bed," he grumbled. Mama Bear saw the jumbled pillows on her bed. "Someone's been sleeping in my bed," she said. Baby Bear walked up to his bed. "Someone's been sleeping in my bed, and they're still there," he cried. The 3 bears crowded around the sleeping girl. Baby Bear reached out with a fuzzy paw to touch her golden curls. Goldilocks opened her eyes. Imagine her surprise when she saw 3 bears peering down at her. She leapt out of the bed and ran down the stairs, through the door, along the path, and all the way home. And she never visited the house of the 3 bears again. Thank you for listening to Bedtime Stories. Please make sure you subscribe to follow us for more stories and, of course, share them with a friend. You can get notified of new stories on Twitter and Instagram @MagicMonorail. If you have a suggestion for a new story, send us an email, magicmonorail@gmail.com. Until next time, good night.